In 2002, someone launched a bombing campaign across the United States, planting bombs in the shape of a multi-state smiley face and leaving several victims in their wake. It sounds like something the Joker might do in a Batman movie, if the writers at DC ever remember to put anything even remotely interesting in their films. But who was the smiley face bomber, and why were they doing this? The first bombs were planted in mailboxes. They were pipe bombs, which are relatively easy for the average person to construct. Here's a quick how-to guide. Now that we know how pipe bombs are made, it's important to note that these bombs were a little more complex, as they were rigged to detonate once the mailboxes were opened, catching unsuspecting homeowners and mail carriers alike in the blast. The first bomb detonated in Dubuque, Iowa on May 3rd, 2002, injuring a mailman opening the mailbox. The same day, 4 more bombs were detonated in Iowa. In Farley, the bomb was detected and detonated by law enforcement. In Anamosa, a bomb injured another person, and in Tipton, another. Law enforcement managed to safely detonate another in Eldridge. But there were more bombs detonated before the day was even over. These ones in Illinois. Each bomb in Morrison, Mount Carroll and Elizabeth injured people opening their mailboxes. By the end of the day, 8 bombs had exploded and 6 people had been injured. Injuries ranged from mangled hands to shrapnel lodgements to hearing loss. Some were permanently disfigured. It didn't appear the victims had been specifically targeted, rather the bombs were placed indiscriminately, and the bomber didn't care who got hurt. Some of the bombs were accompanied by letters that were critical of the government. They opined that people's freedoms were becoming more and more restricted, that society was degenerating, and that the planet was dying. They were similar in sentiment to the Unabomber's manifesto, but it couldn't have been him, as he'd been incarcerated for years at this point. Officials advised people to leave their mailboxes open, but the bomber's approach was about to change. The next day, on May 4th, 6 more bombs were detonated in Nebraska. This time bombs were found in bags, rigged to detonate when the bag was opened. Bombs in Seward, Ohio, Davenport, Dannebrogue, Scotia and Columbus were all detonated by law enforcement. The following day, another was discovered and safely detonated in Albion. The same thing happened the day after that, on May 6th, this time in Hastings. Before the day was out, 2 more bombs were detonated in a similar manner, although they were oddly nowhere near the original clusters. One was found in Salida, Colorado, and another in Amarillo, Texas. Strangely, the pipe bomb in Texas did not have the 9-volt battery needed to detonate it, and the accompanying letter stated the bomber did not wish to kill. By now, the media was referring to them as the Midwest pipe bomber, due to the majority of the 18 bombs being found in the Midwest. If you're a fellow non-American and wondering why this region is called the Midwest and not the Mid-North, it's just because Americans are terrible with directions. They also drive on the right-hand side of the road because it's the right side rather than the wrong side. The FBI finally had a tip as to the identity of the Midwest pipe bomber. A student at the University of Wisconsin Stout alerted authorities when he found black powder and pieces of pipe in the apartment he shared with his roommate, 21-year-old Luke Helder. Investigators further noted that Helder had not been seen on campus for a week.